All right, welcome to the Knox Technology Cybersecurity for Small Business webinar. My name is Mike Knox, I'm the owner of Knox Technology here in Fort Myers, Florida, and I'm excited to be talking to you guys today about a very hot topic in our industry. It's cyber everything, cyber liability, cyber insurance, cyber security, cyber threats, all things cyber. So hopefully today you can get a little bit of knowledge, get a little bit of insight, and again, if you have any questions afterwards, obviously we're here to help. Knox Technology is an MSP, managed service provider here in Southwest Florida, based in Fort Myers. Our clients range from Marco Island all the way up to St. Petersburg in Clearwater, but we also service around the country. We've got clients in Texas and remote offices in Virginia and Kentucky, Tennessee, and up in Washington, D.C. So we're not just limited to Southwest Florida, but that's where our offices are. We can be found online at knoxtech.com or go ahead and send us an email at support@knoxtech.com and we will go ahead and help you out. We just have a few more people that are joining in right now, so want to just let them in and make sure that everybody gets a chance to get started with notes. We are going to be transcribing this, so you'll be able to get a copy of that when you're done here. Forward out, feel free to share to your clients, your constituents, anybody that might have questions about cyber. So. First thing I wanted to talk about is cyber resilience and how it differs from cybersecurity, what those differences are and why they are important. And cyber resilience is pretty simple. It's the ability to anticipate, withstand, and recover from adverse conditions like cyber attacks or system failures. So it's how well you can respond. And it goes beyond just the traditional cybersecurity. It goes into preventing attacks. It goes into what do we do when there is an attack? Because like it or not, all cybersecurity, all attacks, they can't be stopped. On average, the going consensus is that we're about 24 hours behind the bad actors. That's how long it takes the good guys to come up with blocks and threats and mitigations against things. So in those 24 hours, a lot can happen, and it's important to know that we're constantly evolving and constantly changing. Why is it important, right? It's important that we know the difference between resiliency and just cybersecurity, because there is a cost to your business every hour that you're down, right? It could be not responding to clients. It could be not getting trucks on the road. It could be a number of different things that are causing your business to wallow. So making sure that you're back up and running as fast as possible is the most important thing. There are 6 kind of core elements that we look at when we're looking at the resiliency, and some people call it agility, but the resiliency when it comes to cybersecurity, and that's cybersecurity in and of itself, right? Those are the tools and the protections that we have. It's the policies around your security. So it's threat intelligence, things that we're doing to reduce vulnerabilities like antivirus, like anti-spam, anti-phishing, those types of things. So you have the actual security component of it, and then you have the incident response. So that's resilience. That's what do we do once we have something happen? Do we have a documented policy that we know that we can follow and say, hey, okay, if this happens, then this happens. And you probably have this in your business for things like a fire or, a hurricane in Southwest Florida. We deal with those all the time. So you probably have some sort of incident response policy written down. If you don't, you probably should look at one of those. But looking at an incident response policy for your cyber environment is really important. And we'll get to why that's important when we touch on some insurance issues in a little bit. Business continuity, that's backups. So that's part of the cybersecurity, but the business continuity is really making sure that we've got stuff backed up, that we can go back to yesterday or the day before, or as far back as you need to be able to go, not just to go get a file back if somebody deletes it on accident, but with today's cyber threats, a lot of times they will sit dormant for months at some times, trying to get past that retention policy, to where you can't do anything about it. So the business continuity is important, but going beyond just making sure that you have things backed up, it's running scans against your backups and making sure that you have those tools in place. Adaptability. One of the things that's beneficial about working with an MSP for your IT is that we are constantly out there on the front lines learning what tools, what tricks, what do we need to do to implement the best possible security for you. So that's the benefit of working with an MSP, is that we're doing that legwork for you and bringing those tools to the table. You don't need to also go out there and research, well, what is this phishing simulation tool that I need to use, and does it comply with GDPR? Is it NIST certified, and all of these things? That's what we do, right? So that's really a benefit. Communication, right? I have employee awareness here, but communicating to your employees what's going on and making sure that they understand the depth to which we're going to secure the environment, and what we're doing to try to prevent these attacks, so that they can help in that process, right? And the last one to that resiliency is that compliance, right? We want to make sure that we are adhering to any of the legal standards, anything that's HIPAA or PCI compliant. We want to make sure that all of those compliance standards are in place, so that A, we're not in violation, but B, that we can retain and maintain any security or any insurance coverage that we may have in place. That's really big, and we'll kind of touch on those. So these 6 components together combine, our resiliency program, and it's really interesting. One of the biggest stats that I wanted to share was that in 2029, Gartner predicts that over 60% of the breaches will stem from a misconfigured security tool, with the firewall being almost 99% of those breaches. So just as a common misconfiguration of a firewall is going to lead to about 60% of the breaches, per the research. So really important that if you don't have a security expert looking at your firewalls, at your hardware, that you should do so. Want to jump into the top 5 security threats that we see out on the market, and that our industry is seeing. Obviously, the first one is phishing attacks, right? And so that is an email that comes in with some sort of communication, most likely from a trusted source, that has been altered in just a little bit of a way to make it seem like it's a legitimate email. It could be a document for signature. It could be a plan set that you need to review for a contractor. It can be a receipt from a local hardware store. So any one of these emails can come through, and if the right security is not in place, and one of those links is clicked on, one of the benefits of Microsoft is also one of the downsides of Microsoft is moving to the cloud, is that their single sign-on and their persistent sessions in your web browsers, if you don't have the right Microsoft licensing, can lead to vulnerabilities. And just simple click, even with an antivirus or an EDR or any of the tools that we offer, even with those in place, just one click can lead to a compromised mailbox. right? Ransomware, you've probably heard of crypto attacks, where there's a data breach, and that data is then encrypted with an encryption key, and you've got to send them 5 Bitcoins, or you're never going to get your data back. That happens frequently. We have had 2 clients of ours that have come to us because of ransomware attacks. In one instance, there was not much we could do. In the second instance, we were able to recover a little bit of the data from a previous backup, but it's out there. We have an EDR tool that is an endpoint detection and response tool that allows us to identify when ransomware is happening, right? And it's not just one tool, but it's a combination of tools that we provide that uses AI to monitor behavior, right? Um, One of the common misconceptions with security threats is that, oh, I've got an antivirus, I'm fine. Antivirus is old and it's necessary, but it's not enough. An antivirus looks through files and it looks at the content of that file, and it looks at code and says, hey, this code can be or has been used in the past to do malicious things, right? So you want to look at that. You want to have something scanning that, but it's not enough because it usually can't keep up with the amount of file changes that are happening in today's computers. It also can't keep up with the file structure. It used to look for specific names in a database that sounded sketchy and says, let me look at those files, let me look through those and see what's in there. Um, so uh, the virus world got pretty quick to that real fast and started making changes to the way they named things, and so antivirus just isn't enough anymore. It needs to be paired with an EDR to make sure that that device is being protected. In the event that there is an issue, that something is behaving abnormally or outside of the allowed norms, um, AI can step in and can stop that attack from happening to mitigate the losses. Can isolate that device on the network. It can alert us. It can do a lot of things faster than a human being can do. And this is an example of where AI can really be a tool for good in a world where a lot of people think AI is doing a lot of bad things. Social engineering is probably one of the things that we see the most, especially with our clientele that has been around for a little while, our elderly clientele that may be retiring or towards the end of their professional career, scrolling through social media, answering questions about what your favorite car was, or your favorite sport, or your pastime, or where you went to vacation as a kid, to answer some questionnaires online. All of these are social engineering tools that are just gathering data from you to try to engineer your passwords, right? They're trying to get into your life and pretend that they are you by impersonating you. Weak password policies is kind of goes hand in hand with that social engineering, and it's very much something that we see on a day-to-day basis. If you or your clients are not using a password management tool like LastPass or OnePass, or even our MyGlue product that we have, you really should. Sharing passwords, even personal passwords with your wife or your bank accounts and such. If you use any combination of your kids' names, your birth dates, your anniversaries, your last 4 of your social security, the street that you live on, all of those things are available out there on the dark web, and can be used to create your passwords. And you're probably hopefully saying to yourself, geez, I wonder, did my dog is the best, 22 exclamation point. Oh, I should change that. So I'll make it, my dog is the best 23 exclamation point. Without a strong password policy for your organization and for your life, your personal life as well, it's pretty easy. When does that become a problem? Well, it may not be your system that gets compromised. It could be one of the third-party vendors that you use. It could be a online retailer. It could be, Netflix or eBay or something like that. And now they have a password combination and a email address for you, and they can use that back with the social engineering to kind of figure out how to get into other systems that you may be using. The last thing that we see is poor patch management. All of our clients at Knox Technology, we manage all of the patch management for every device and server that we manage in our inventory. But if you don't have that currently, that's really important. Microsoft updates are critical and important. They need to be applied in a very specific fashion. You can just turn them on and let them go, and that's fine. But that also can cause some downtime, as we saw last year with an issue with Adobe. We saw some issues with a lot of third parties that use CrowdStrike and some Cloudflare security teams. So making sure that you're applying those patches in the right timely manner to ensure that the devices are secure, it's important. Patch management is a struggle for some of us and some of our clientele because they don't like to have to reboot their machines as often as we would like them to do so. So they get annoyed at our little pop-ups that come in there. But that's just us being, proactive with security. So just to give you a little brief example of kind of how all of these things come together at once, we had a client that had an email come through from a local municipality that was putting out a request for proposal. They clicked on that request, except for it was a malicious request. It was a link to a Dropbox, a PDF in Dropbox that had another link in it that they clicked on because it seemed legitimate, and that email account was compromised. It was accessed from Europe through a VPN in Miami. So some of our security didn't catch it because we had a lower level. This client was paying for a lower level of security to isolate just to the state of Florida. So we didn't look past the state of Florida and saw it was coming in from Miami. It also didn't trigger a multiple two-factor authentication because it was already authenticated through that browser. And that goes back to the single sign-on issue that we had. And this entity was able to procure a domain name extremely similar to my client's domain name, and start sending out fraudulent invoices and fraudulent communication back and forth. They actually built the rapport back up with some customers, sent an invoice out, requested additional payments, and funny enough, they actually got some people to send some checks. They sent them to the correct address, so luckily no money was gone. But it was a close call. We had to step in and get Google involved because they were able to set up the domain with all of the legitimate security in place to be to pose as a legitimate company. They had all of the DMARC and the DKIM and all of the security that we would input onto a domain. They had that as well. It was just a different domain. So it's really important that when you're looking at emails, if it's something new or something that comes in to play that you're not necessarily expecting, just double check it, right? Make sure you're looking at the domain names behind the name. Make sure that you're looking at the content, misspellings, capitalization, punctuation, small little things like that. And if you don't have any of tools for pre-delivery spam filters or an anti-phishing simulation training, let us know and we can talk you through putting some of that stuff into place. One of the last things I wanted to touch on is cyber liability insurance. So we've talked about the need for cybersecurity and the need that from a resilient perspective, it needs to be more than antivirus. It needs to be more than just the device. We have to protect all of the devices, the switches, the access points, the firewalls, making sure that they're up to date. We need to make sure that we have backups, and that those backups that we do have are being scanned and being evaluated for their integrity. We want to make sure that when push comes to shove and we go back to those backups, that those backups are not going to also hurt us. So we need to have all of that put together while we're talking to our employees and making them aware of the threats and the issues, so that when it comes down to it, if there is an issue, right, that the cyber liability policy that we have in place, and if you don't have one in place, contact us. We have plenty of referrals for insurance agents that we work with. But when it comes down to filing that claim, you have a much better chance of getting that claim accepted and paid. It's only as good as your compliance, and it's only as good as your security requirements. That's I can't stress that enough, that if you don't have compliance in place, if you're not maintaining your patch management, if you're not maintaining a strict level of password policies, if you're not making sure that every new device that comes on is secured, it's backed up, it doesn't follow all of these steps, then the liability insurance carrier is going to look at it and say, nope, you're not covered. It doesn't, you breached the contract. One of the things that we can offer for our clients is a review of those policies, right? To see how their current policy stacks up with potential gaps and holes compared to their IT and their security, right? We use some AI tools to go through and look through those policies and scan for errors or omissions that may or may not be covered under potentially a warranty product. So we like to work with our clients to make sure that they're educated, because really understanding your policy and understanding what it does cover, and more importantly, what it does not cover, really can help you go back and negotiate with those underwriters and say, hey, I need a policy that covers this because I need wire fraud. And if somebody sends my CEO or my CFO an email and saying, I need gift cards, and that person sends those gift cards out, that's wire fraud. That's financial fraud, right? And if your policy doesn't cover that, then you're going to be on the hook. The other thing is documenting, right? So we talked about having some response policies in place. You need to be documenting all that you can when there is an issue, right? Document the losses, document what happened, when it happened, how you think it happened, and document any costs related to that business interruption, that data restoration, and any of those legal fees, right? Again, knowing your policy is important, because some policies don't cover that data retention. Some policies don't cover that restoration or that incident response. So really knowing what you have and what you don't have, because all cyber liability policies are not created equal. So I'll close with that, and thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. Knox Technology, we are here to help kind of bridge the gap and kind of help you understand the crazy world that is cyber security, cyber insurance, because it's changing every day. We're having to look at threats every day. We're evolving our tool stack every day. And if you would like us to do an evaluation of your IT or your company's IT or your client's IT, we would be happy to do so. This is being recorded and transcribed, so at the end it'll go out through the auto magics of the interwebs via email, so you'll get a copy of this. So feel free to forward it along. If you have questions about your cyber policies or your cyber insurance, just let us know. Again, thank you very much. We'll continue this webinar series next month. You'll get another email about there. And if you have any suggestions of topics that you'd like to see us cover, please feel free to send us an email. It's really easy. It's Mike, M-I-K-E, @knoxtech.com. I'd be happy to put together something for you or for your clients specifically. Thanks, and have a wonderful rest of your afternoon.